All right, let's get into it. Today is hatch day. What I mean by that is we're gonna work on the aluminum hatches today, getting them ready to be installed in the boat. When you get these hatch lids from Nate, they come pre-hinged already. So that's one thing we can check off the list as being done. And thank God, because hinges can be a pain in the you-know-what. So that's already done. And these are hinged very well. I mean, this thing opens and closes very quietly. You don't hear a thing, no creaking, very smooth. Very professionally done. So what we have left is to install latches and struts. For the latches, I'm going with white cap, black lockable latches. I use these in my boat as well. Pretty much the best thing out there, bang for your buck. So we'll be installing those with the exception of that one. That's the big hatch lid that goes in the back. That one will not need a latch. All right, moving on to my struts. I'm going with 10-pound struts, Apex struts, straight from Amazon. The latches are from Amazon as well. And then for the hardware, just picked up some stainless steel screws, nuts, and washers from Home Depot. I'm going with number 8s, and this is for the top of the strut. So the hatch lid process is not that difficult. Just take your time and measure. I'm gonna walk you guys through this process. Once you get the hang of it, you just repeat, similar with everything on a boat build. So I'm doing all the preparation for the lids to be installed into the boat. And I'm also doing this in preparation for these lids to be painted. I'll be painting the insides and the trim of the lids black. And it's always best to do all the work to stuff before you paint it, because if you paint it first, you're gonna end up scratching it up, messing it up, and then may have to repaint it again. So that's why I'm doing this now. And then in the very end, I'll paint it and then install it in the boat. All right, so first thing you wanna do is take out your strut and get it sized up for your lid. There's a lot out there that talks about how to get your measurements right, so that when you try to close your lid, it will actually close. The simple way to do that, instead of getting very technical, decide the position of how far you want your lid to open. What I mean by that is, do you want it to open like this? Do you want it to be a complete 90-degree open, or 100-degree, and so on? I typically will go 90, or I'll go a little bit shorter than 90. For this lid, I'm gonna go just about 90. What I wanna do is get the hardware out, attach your hardware. I put the hardware on it, the top and bottom. I can only install this bottom piece as close to here as I can get. In that case, I'm just gonna estimate that I'm gonna install this bottom piece right about here in my left hand. As I move the lid to the position I need, it will move this part in my right hand down to the position I need it to. Because I was able to successfully just preliminary measure it out, it gives me the confidence to know that one, this strut is not too long for this lid. I believe this is a 10-inch, but they come in various lengths, 6-inch, 8, 10, and so on. This is not too long, and I can go ahead and install the bottom part of this strut. I'm gonna install the bracket first and put it right down here, close to this bottom corner. First I wanna do is cut off a 2-inch piece, and this is where the bottom of the latch will be mounted. All right, there you have it, all cut, very clean. So a trick that a subscriber on the last build suggested to me was to round off the edges of these angle pieces, because this will be sticking down in the hatch like this. And you don't want to be reaching down in there and scrape your arm, cut your arm right open with these edges. I'm gonna just take the same piece right here, draw a little round off on both sides. Just something easy, just to take the edge off. Oh, that worked like a charm. Shout out to Michael Lopez once again. I mentioned it in a previous video. He's talked highly about a bandsaw and he uses it a lot. And trust me, this thing saves a lot of time when working with angle aluminum, especially 1.5 inch wide. It just makes things that much easier. I will admit it takes a little bit getting used to how to hold it, how to angle it right, how to make your cut straight. Once you make enough cuts, it just becomes pretty much second nature. I've never even made a round cut like that before, and that was my first attempt. So in the end, that's what you got right there. I'll sand this down a little bit and I'm done. So this is the part that will be riveted underneath. I'm gonna rivet through the lid and attach this support piece right here. But if you notice, once I install this in here, it sticks out. So I'm gonna shave this off because the framing goes right here on both sides. I'm gonna drill a 3/16 inch hole, not a 1/8. I'm going heavy duty because of course you're gonna open this lid 1,000 times. This is aluminum, so this lid is gonna last forever. So I'm gonna build a bracket that's gonna last forever. For my rivets, I'm going with a 3/16 inch closed pop rivet. And I'm going with closed pop because of course, this is a watertight dry lid. I just put a hole in it, of course. I want to maintain that integrity of the lid to keep it watertight. And as an added measure, I'm going to put some 5200 around this to seal it up really good. These 3 hatches are ready to go. I've drilled out my holes in each one and I've prepared my brackets for each one. I've got my rivets ready. I've got my 5200 ready. So let's go ahead and install these brackets for the struts in each one. I'm gonna pre-drill the holes for the ball joint right here. The screws I'm gonna use are 1/2 inch number 6 stainless steel panhead screws. So I've got all my brackets set up for each one of these lids. All right, find the right drill bit. You don't wanna pre-drill your holes out too much and then your screws don't hold tight. So make sure you take your time and find it. And if you're in doubt, practice on an off piece of metal to make sure it works before you actually work with the material that you're doing in production, all right? I'm just gonna take a little bit of 5200, get it going right around the rim of this rivet. All right, first rivet is in there really well. You've got the 5200 oozing out. All right, so now I wanna install the strut back on so we can get the top measurement right. Again, I will get my angle right for the hatch. I'm gonna go almost at 90 degrees. Make sure that the actual strut clears the framing of the hatch. You don't wanna move it too much this way. When you try to close the hatch, the actual strut hits the frame. So I actually just ran out to Home Depot to get shorter screws. I originally had 3/4 inch machine screws in here. It was sticking out a little bit too far. The strut did work, but I don't know that that would work for every hatch. I bought 1/2 inch number 8 screws, 8/32. Sticks out just enough for the lock nut to engage. So I'm just gonna snap this back on here. Can't get any more perfect than that. The top of the strut is right where the screw begins. Good to go, the hatches work. Struts in. I'm gonna repeat the process for this one right here and then do the big main hatch for the front deck. When you mark the top bracket of the strut, you wanna mark it in the middle on the top and the bottom. You'll see a little slit right here. If you tag it in the middle, it'll allow you to adjust it a little bit later if you need to, up or down. If you screw it all the way at the end, you won't have any play. You're stuck with wherever your hole is. Don't forget guys, I have a full video on hatches, latches, and hinges. Link at the top of the screen, check that out as well. That's for wood hatches. All right, so we've got our mark. That on and let's close it. Opens up nice and wide. All right, got the big front hatch lid done. I did find a sweet spot for anyone using Nate's lids. A good distance from the edge of the lid to the center of the slot right here is 1.5 inches exactly. And it allows the strut to close completely straight parallel with this bottom hinge. So 1.5 inches to the center mark of this slot where the bolt is. Works perfectly. Now that we have the struts in, it's time to work on installing the latches. White cap is working out really well. I really like these. They're pretty sturdy and you can buy them lockable or not lockable. These are lockable, so you do get a key with it. This should be a pretty simple ordeal. As with all hatches, you wanna make sure you find center. So I'll do that first. The hole size to cut this out is 2.5 inches. I've got my 2.5 inch hole saw. So this is roughly 15 1/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna be right at a little more than 7.5. I'll do 7 1/16 as center. Here we go, center line. So here's the tricky part, and you wanna be really careful when you're doing this, is to find the distance you need from the edge of the lid out. Your latch is only but so long, so you wanna make sure that you measure your distance away from the edge of your hatch properly so that this latch actually connects and it's not too long or too short. If you mount it too close to the edge, your latch will probably hit your frame and not be able to close all the way. If you mount it too far away, then of course your latch will not even make contact with the edge of your hatch. And this goes for wood hatches, aluminum hatches. Just want to make sure you get this measured right. One of the first things you need to do to make sure you have your measurements right is to know the distance between the edge of the latch and where your hole will be. You need to measure the distance between here, where your hole will be, and the end of your latch. This distance right here, from here to here. I've already measured it. It measures 1.5 inches. I'll just do it. Sorry, my ruler's upside down. 1.5 inches is right here where my finger is. What I did was mark the edge of my lid inside the track of the hatch. So I marked it, I've got a line right there. That's where I want my latch to hit. I want my latch to go far enough over this way to secure the lid down so there's no chance of it opening accidentally. I already drew my center line. I went 1.5 inches up to mark the edge of where the hole will be, and I put my hole saw right there centered. So I've got center hole. This dot right here is right in the middle of this hole saw, and this line keeps me centered left to right. Just like that, I mark my edge 1.5 inches into the hatch lid, and that's when I drew my circle. And I can make it even easier for you. If you're ordering Nate's lids, your center mark where you want your drill bit to go is 2 3/4 inches away from the edge of the lid. If you just remember that for Nate's lids, you're good to go. So this mark right here, where I'll put the drill bit, is exactly 2 3/4 inches away from the edge of the hatch lid. So I'm just gonna repeat the process for this side. I've got my center line. I'll measure 2 3/4 up the center line, which is right here. Then I will use my hole saw and I just eyeball it. When that dot is dead center in this circle right there, I'm good to go. I want to mark my 1.5 inch mark, which is right here. So this should all coincide. So I just drew my 1.5 inch mark right here. I hold my hole saw right there, center it up. Now I'll draw my circle. Honestly, guys, you don't even have to draw this circle. It's a nice visual to have. And that's what I'm gonna cut out right there. Always measure and keep measuring. It might seem like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy, but you'll be surprised. Sometimes you're looking and thinking that's a half mark and it's a 3/4 mark. So I've got 1/2 inch there. My center dot is 2 3/4. Again, if you're using Nate's lids, 2 3/4 is where you want to put your drill bit. All right, so carefully just place your bit in the right location. Make sure that that center mark line is exactly in the middle of your drill bit. All right, let's fit it in. All right, that's nice. Just a preliminary check. All right. It latches. Of course, I need to adjust the height of this to make sure that there's no play. Like you saw, there's a little bit of play. So you can adjust the height to make sure it's a snug fit. So what I want to see now is underneath, where does the latch catch underneath the hatch? Here's another view of how much of the latch actually catches behind the lid. All right, so let's get a final fitting on this. We want to now put the rubber gasket on here. This will help to prevent any water from going through. So when I do my final tightening, and that'll be when this lid is completely done, hydroturfed and everything, I'll get a plumber's wrench and really tighten this down. So I've just got it hand tightened right now to show you guys how this will work. All right, so it's in a lock position. I'm gonna pull up on it to see if there's any play in it like you guys saw before, and there isn't. Like, there's none at all. The latch is right up against the lid, okay? All right, perfect, one down. Gonna repeat the process for the other one. This is not budging. So this is a perfect fit. And truth be told, I actually asked Nate, because I know he's done this 1,000 times already with his lids, of course, how far out do you need the center of the hole to be? And he said 2 3/4. But I wanted to show you guys how you get there, because you won't always know that. Of course, again, if you go with Nate's setup, you already know. These are machine made. There's no room for any kind of manual mistakes. These things are cut to spec. But again, I wanted to be able to show you how to get to it. So no matter what your situation is, you can make sure that you install your latches in the right place so that you don't make a mistake and have to redo your lids. The aluminum lids definitely makes life a lot easier. There's a lot less to do because it comes assembled already. I'll leave Nate's information in the description below if you want to get more information directly from Nate on all the aluminum, the crazy aluminum things he puts together, including the lids that you just saw. The end is in sight. Next up, we have the custom trolling motor mount for the bow of the boat. This is a tiller held trolling motor at the bow of the boat. A very cool install. I can't wait to show that to you guys. After that, we've got the all aluminum decking install for the John boat. So all the decking for this boat will be aluminum, no wood. And then HydroTurf will cover everything down, lay it down, cover it up nice. So it's almost time to reveal this John boat, and that's what I am super excited to do. I mean, it came out so nice, guys. You guys are really gonna like this. It's gonna be the craziest 12-footer. Also have an upgrade coming to the Rona behind me. Sorry, I got a hot mess going on behind me, as you can probably see. Got a really cool upgrade coming from my John boat. Stay tuned to that as well. Do us a favor and hit that like button right down below. Hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. That shows you what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Tons of content to come your way. And I mean tons of content, trying to get through all the edits, but it's coming your way. Super excited about all that. Don't forget, as always, stay safe out there. We'll see you next time.